Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. So excited to be here today. I'm excited to be here every day. I mean, really. Do y'all ever do the coffin test in the morning?
Pardon?
No?
The
Okay.
coffin test?
All right. Yeah, exactly. All right. So because this is a podcast, I mean, we do have the video version, but I'm sure there are some of our fans that are only listening to it. So imagine yourself in the morning when you get up, the first thing you should do is push your arms forward as far as you can. So I want to see you all do this. Push your arms forward as far as you can. I'm not seeing you do it. Come on. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. If you don't hit any resistance when you do that, that means you're not in a coffin, and it means you can still make something of your life, or at least of your day. All right.
Okay.
What if your blanket's in the way?
So that's the test.
Oh.
Well,
She's gone.
Oh, she's back. Okay. I just
Wow.
asked, what if the blanket's in the way and you were gone?
You just
I know.
laughed and laughed.
I heard
That is
it.
great.
I did.
Now
hear
that's
it.
resistance.
If only I could do that in real life when you ask me questions.
You know you love my questions. Just like I love your jokes.
I do. I actually, yes, indeed. Let me see something here.
This is new. She's leaving the pod for the...
I was checking the Wi-Fi extender because my connection isn't super wonderful, but we'll just see what happens. It's really Sarah's problem, actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm excited because we have a guest today. We don't always have guests, but we have a guest today. And this is someone who is very, very special to me. I definitely put as one of my best friends on the planet. Been there from the very beginning of me starting this practice, and has been through a lot of those ups and downs with me, and seen a lot of it. And then it's not, well, no, it is how we met. I don't know. There were there was a networking group and then the American Businesswomen's Association. We were both in them. I don't know, Laura, actually, if it was you that invited me to NetWeavers through ABWA. Okay. So we got to see each other a lot. And then we both pursued leadership within the American Businesswomen's Association, both locally and on the national level. And one of the greatest honors for me was that the year I served.
Uh-oh.
This is going to
Cliffhanger.
be a fun one.
Yeah, I don't think our Wi-Fi's ever been this bad, has it?
No.
Yeah.
I'm like
I
sitting
can fill
here
in
just
the blank
waiting.
because I think I know what
Yeah,
she was
go
going to
for it.
say.
Go for it.
Because she said it was her great honor. It was my great honor. When she served as president of the American Businesswomen's Association, I had the privilege of serving underneath her on her board as the District 2 vice president in her succession. And so we believe, we don't know correctly, but we believe we're the first time in history where two sitting board members came from the same league.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Considering the association was founded since World War II, that's a pretty cool stat.
Yeah.
Even though we don't know that that's accurate. There's Lori.
Just hang on to that.
Yeah, that's right, Laura. Good job. Whatever you said. But anyway, so I'm excited. When we were talking about doing guests, Laura was one of the first people who I thought of that would be really fun. So I figured that we're talking today, Laura, about networking, marketing, all that fun stuff. Because, I mean, you know a lot of stuff. I don't know if, I'm sure Star Wars and or the 49ers will also come up. She knows a lot of stuff about that as well. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, Laura, apparently you've already had some introduction, but tell us a little bit more about you, your background, and what is it that you know what you're talking about, but other people do not.
Well, that's a twofold question. So what I know that other people don't know that need to know is that they need to work with you. Full stop.
Nice.
Nice.
I didn't even know she was going to say that. I promise. Your check's in the mail, Laura.
You're welcome. Basically, that's true though. That's not a platitude. I tell the truth, and I firmly believe that they need a Lori Burch Law team in their corner, and so I can run down that rabbit hole if we want to, but. Just of the brief introduction, aside from being a huge fan of the Lori Burch, I'm Laura Morlando, the Stress Commando, and I help professionals and businesses network stress-free. I help them with stress-free marketing, stress-free leadership, so they can be more effective and confident. I'm just all about keeping it stupid, simple, and fun, and making sure that you're not living to work, but you're working to live, and you really enjoy life.
So two expressions that come to mind that I've heard from Laura is one, if it's free, it's for me.
Yes.
And an R&D.
Yeah, well, I can't take credit for that one. That actually, R&D is rip off and duplicate, and I actually got that from somebody else.
Yeah.
And when I first heard it,
duplicated it, right?
I did, but I asked permission, and so I'll give credit to the person. It was Vicki Marlette, and she said it. And she said R&D, and I was like that puppy dog turd hen. I didn't really understand. I'm like, research and development? Like it didn't fit in the sentence where she was using it. And she goes, no, rip off and duplicate. I'm like, oh, got it.
That's right.
So yeah, that was from her. So I borrowed.
If there's anything I know about Vicki Marlette, it's probably something we have in common. But if there's anything I know about Vicki Marlette, is she does not mind getting the credit. and she and I very much have that in common. Also,
yeah, I'm all about giving it words due.
Past national president of the American Businesswomen's Association. So Laura, I do think what would be a good thing for us to talk about, but why don't we can talk about it now and then transition into the networking and so forth. But I also think something that you and I both know about that not everybody does or has perceptions of is really the power of, well, it is kind of a networking thing. There's a lot of misperceptions around it, but the power of having a sisterhood, a support system. And that's something I will say was really eye-opening for me, because when I first joined specifically the American Businesswomen's Association, which Laura and I, a hill we will both die on, is that is not a networking group. It's a personal and professional development organization.
Yes.
But that I really did join it with the intent of learning skills and promoting my law practice. I mean, I was just a snot-nosed kid, and now I'm a snot-nosed adult, a snot-nosed kid starting my own business. And that's really how I saw it. And and while I did get business out of it and continue to get business out of it, the sisterhood element, which is not something that I would have ever thought would be coming out of my mouth, is I think what's really empowering about it. And I think any sort of sense of community that you can develop, finding your people, because community is not just where you live, it's people who you can share common goals and values with, and a support system. And I think that's one of the things that ABWA does better. I wish it was more well known, but does better than anything I experienced, because I've often said that the women and friends that I developed through that organization, Laura at the top of that list, really saw something in me that I didn't see, and really accepted me in a way that I had yet to accept myself. And so to be able to come in and feel like, to see that reflection of you that you don't even believe that you're that person, but they believe it. And then you're like, well, maybe. And then you strive to be that person, and just to be completely embraced and celebrated. And it's not perfect. Like, trust me, there's people that you want to punch in the throat some days. But that's fair. But really just just there's pretty much, there isn't anything I wouldn't do for that association, for the women who really were there to help me become a more authentic, vulnerable version of myself. And so I think, Laura, you and I know a little bit about that. So why don't you use that, Laura, as a transition then to also then spring into networking and what that really means? Because I mean, it is networking in the sense of, a network can be a community, right? But tell me, Laura, you talk, you're so good at it.
But I love listening to you, Lori. I will, in all seriousness, I will forever be great. Yes, I love listening to you. Yeah, sorry, guys. I don't mean to run into you.
We know she loves listening to herself too. It's fine.
It's true.
I have learned well. And so I will forever be grateful for the experience of ABWA, or the American Businesswomen's Association, because that's where our friendship was really forged and where a lot of the relationships are forged. And to just put a real bow in it, one of the biggest mistakes that I see organizations and companies make when it relates to their marketing and their lead generation is not understanding their ideal client. That is not true of ABWA. They 100% understand their ideal client. And they understand what the problem is of their ideal client is filling what I call, and with the community that I have, I've started the frame that you feel like you're on an island of alone. And prior to becoming a member of ABWA, I was a corporate professional. I had not pivoted into entrepreneur land. And I really felt like I was on that island of alone because I was in a male-dominated industry. The women that I connected with, the women that I connected with, well, they just didn't get me and I didn't get them. And so it was really difficult. I mean, I just really didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. And when I got to the first meeting, and I will forever to this day regret not knowing this person's name, but because I like to give credit, as I said earlier. But I had transitioned out of international sales and gotten into local sales. And I could tell you how to get the boxes across the world on the shelves of the Best Buys of the world, but I couldn't tell you what a Chamber of Commerce was. I couldn't tell you what a leads group was. I knew nothing of local, community. And so my boss had told me to join every networking group. And the measure of my success was how many business cards did I collect and how many people did I add to the newsletter. Full stop. Do not ever do that. You will tank your reputational capital in the worst way possible. Like, do not do that. You will alienate everybody. But that's what I was told. And so this is how I approached every networking group that I went to. And so, yes, I was treated like walking through the cosmetic aisle at Christmas, where you're just like, oh my gosh, because that's what I was doing to everybody. Like, I was just doing and selling and telling. And when I walked into ABWA, there was a coach there, and she had pity on me, clearly. And she put her arm around me. She goes, let me go and introduce you around. Now, let me just stop for a second. I score very high on the introvert scale. I feel very socially awkward most times. And so walking into that room, my palms were sweaty. I wasn't really comfortable. I was already feeling salesy and schmarmy, but I'm doing what I'm told.
Did you have mom's spaghetti?
My boss
knew you were going to do the joke. I knew it. I was waiting. I was waiting.
I did take a beat, but I just couldn't.
I was watching you waiting
If
for
we
you
can
to
count on
say
anything, is for Lori to ensure that she can make some pop culture reference at any point in time and just keep going with it too.
Sorry.
It works. No, I'm like, sorry, not sorry. Don't even lie to me right now. I know better. And it's why I love you.
It's honestly kind of fascinating too, how really obscure things, like how obscure she can go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was not obscure.
I really am a Renaissance pop culture woman. All right.
I learned so much from you. Usually you're like, you don't know that reference. And then I get educated onto what it is, which I love. But
anyway,
I think
sorry,
the point
Laura.
that I was trying, no problem. I mean, the point that I was trying to get to, which would tie into hey, I was accepted for who I was in that moment. I'm going to accept you for your pop culture references. And I mean, it's the same thing. But she put her arm around me. She goes, let me introduce you around. And so I was grateful for that because it lowered the temperature of me feeling very awkward. And so she started introducing me around. She goes, here's how you make the best use of this room. So driving home as I do debriefing what went right, what went wrong, I was like, she just corrected me. And it didn't trigger my fear of looking stupid. And that was the point where I started recognizing there's two types of networking. There's the traditional transactional networking, which is what I was doing, the pitch slapping, the, sell and tell. And then there's this other networking that I started to really develop, which is more the relational networking. And if you dig into ABWA and you listen to the mission statement, networking is not part of the mission statement. What is network support. And the word support is very intentional. And I recognized what support was when I was running for office, because you had one vote, but you could support all candidates. And it was fascinating to see what support felt like from women that I had never met any women like this and such diverse backgrounds. And so to Lori's point, it really is that sense of belonging. For those in the association, sisterhood has tremendous value. For those outside the association, it doesn't. But if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling like you're on that island of alone, if you're looking for skilling up, if you're looking for connection.
Did you just say skilling
up? This is where it has it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sarah, add that one to your list. That sounds like almost like a corporate jargon type word, but I like that. Skilling up.
Skilling up. Well, it's upskill. I've heard it that way before.
So, I mean, I'm used to, just from a business standpoint, scaling up. So skilling up.
Yeah. Skilling up or upskill.
I low key love that.
Oh, good. It's definitely been used lately. Upskill has been used in reference to AI to make sure you're upskilling, especially there, or skilling up. So when I'm talking about marketing, it's like, great, are you skilling up with leveraging AI? Or are you allowing AI to be a shiny object syndrome and distract you from the things that actually move the needle and make money? I like skilling up. It's the way it just rolls off my tongue easier. So that's why I say that.
Yeah.
But that's where it's referenced to, or how I've heard it referenced.
Yeah. So Laura, you really are a wealth of knowledge. I'll tell you that one of the most terrifying things that happened to me my first year of starting my own business was a one-on-one I had with Laura. She's heard me tell this before, but no, it really was, because I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. And so as part of this other like traditional networking group where you're supposed to set up one-on-ones, we have a one-on-one. And I do you remember this, Laura? It was in like the bar area of Abuelo's, which is where we would meet.
Okay.
And it was I think it was after the meeting.
Okay.
I remember having this one-on-one, and it was like rapid fire. Here are all these ideas to do for marketing. And they were all like amazing and brilliant, and I wanted to throw up. So what I did is I just wrote them all down, and then I game planned, like, okay, like I think newsletter may have been something you came up with. I was like, and you know, what these my colleagues, Laura, what they aren't aware of, at least especially Sarah and Sam, is how different things were 20 years ago than they are now. Like there was no social media. The proliferation of apps, which we didn't even call it that really, was not there. So I think like Constant Contact, not a sponsor, was like at the leading, like cutting edge of this, but there was still like, now you can pretty much design anything on your own. But at the time, it's like, that was just starting to really evolve. At least I feel like it was. And so the idea of doing a newsletter, I mean, shoot, now you just pull up ChatGPT and anybody could have a newsletter in 10 minutes. Was not like that. So I remember these things, like I kind of put them into a bucket of like highest priority, what may be something I get to, what is something maybe for next year or something like that. But I do remember being very overwhelmed by Laura in our first one-on-one.
Yeah, it's not the first time I hear that. It comes from a place of love to want to help and serve. Yeah. But yes, I have a tendency to fire hose people. My husband remembers, and what I remember was our time at, we were at Paradise Cafe, and you and I were there for hours. And Darren walked in to check. Yeah, Darren walked in to check in on us, and his impersonation is he's like, I remember walking in. He goes, you guys didn't even see me. He goes, you were sitting across from each other in the booth and your heads were locked. And Lori had her shoulder and she's just writing notes. He goes, and you're just going and go, yeah, and you're pointing on the notes. And he goes, I sat there, I said hello. And he goes, you guys really didn't miss me. You just kept on going.
See, I think that was a little bit further into our relationship where I was like somewhat closer to being on your level, where I had a little bit more confidence, because the first one would have been more like me sitting back, like blow my hair like straight back, with you maybe leading it intensely. But but a lot of great ideas there. So so I want to make sure that you get to address things that you want to address with our limited time today. But I do know that for me, some questions that I have for you, they're all kind of related, but just how have you seen this? Let me just tell you some questions I have, and then you can go with that however you want. Like, how have you seen things evolve? And I don't want to just use my time period of having a business for 20 years, but however you want to. Where do you think we're going? You already mentioned AI. COVID really changed things as far as our traditional interacting with connecting. And then I think another thing that I'd be interested to hear your perspective on is, I know, at least from the ABWA world, that there's a misperception that you have to be a business owner, entrepreneur to see value in joining different communities, support groups, professional organizations. And so I'm interested to hear kind of your thoughts there, and then anything else. But those are things that are like popping into my head. It's like, oh, I wonder what Laura has to say about this.
So to give just a little bit of perspective for the younger people in the room, when we first started with ABWA, the way that we accepted registrations was by check. And the way that we promoted events and sent flyers was by fax.
Ooh, fax.
Dang.
Okay, because there was no social media. So faxing was a thing. And so think of all the spam emails that you get. Imagine getting fax spam, because people have
there used to be so much fax
We
spam.
do get some. We get some
Every
now and then. Yeah.
Like,
so it's still a thing.
There's an asphalt company in DFW that really wants us to get on their list.
See, that's awesome. And here's what's so funny about that, the tradition. So fax kind of faded out. For me, fax never went away because I've been a caregiver, which is why I think everyone needs to know, Lori, you need your paperwork in order so you can be an effective caregiver. It's the only way I was able to do it. And the only way the government agencies would accept documentation when I was caregiving for my grandmother was by fax, not email. And that was as recent as even 10 years ago. And so caregiving for my mom, I kept the fax because my mom would need me to fax things on her behalf. So I kept it. It was last year that I finally got rid of the fax machine. Because you just, if you're dealing with government agencies, you're needing it. But here's the funny part, the full circle moment, kind of speaking to you guys getting fax, it's secure and unhackable. Government agencies are back using fax machines again.
Yeah.
And so you're starting to see people go analog because people are craving authenticity to eliminate the deep fake of AI. So AI is doing its thing and speed things up. But on the other hand, it's bringing analog back and it's bringing human to human contact. My coach has this saying, and I think it's a really great saying. He says, right now we're in a trust recession. People don't trust other people. And I love that. He's correct. And so when you think of marketing, you've heard the word nurture. Now I can tell you exactly where that is. But the time for someone to trust you, to work with you, whether they're just meeting you, whether you're networking or whether you're doing social media, is longer before they decide to say, here's my information, put me on your email list. And then once on the email list, that trust timeline before they're just considering you, and then, oh, by the way, I'm purchasing, is longer.
Yeah.
And so the way that you can shorten that is by engaging in what I call relational networking.
You listening to this, Sarah?
Oh,
Marketing coordinator.
Yeah, it's relational networking. Here's the thing. I developed this definition through all of the experiences that I had because I saw this is what was missing. What was missing was the ability to not say, hi, my name is, exchange business cards, one-way conversation, pitch slap you. That's done. That's what everybody knows.
I love that.
What's missing is a two-way conversation where one of my core values for my company, Down and Dirty Networking, is talk less, question more. And how are you?
Yeah.
Not an effective question. And so if you can get more effective questions when you're talking to your potential ideal client, you're going to have a more meaningful discussion. And so when somebody asks me, Laura, how do I get more leads? I go, how many conversations are you having top of funnel? How many conversations are you having on social media? And they'll say, oh, I've got so many likes, it went viral. How many conversations are you having? I have a method that's conversations for conversions. You have to be having conversations with people. And that's the strength of what ABWA did. We traveled, we ran on the board, we upskilled, we skilled up. And we had conversations with people, meaningful conversations. I had to learn things that I didn't know and expand and just totally change. And it's where I started realizing I didn't have to always be a round peg trying to fit in a round hole when I'm really a square peg.
Yeah, so square.
I
L7.
did. Yeah, it's all square. I didn't have to. I could be crazy in my curly. I could be myself. And so it was kind of this coming of age. And so where is it all going in marketing? It went from, it's kind of the genesis of what I've been going through in the journey. So as a minority, as a female, and at the time I was too young, and I was told that point blank for a promotion that I was denied. I was laughed at when I asked for this promotion, literally laughed at. They're like, oh, you're serious. They said, you're too young, you're the wrong minority, and you're the wrong gender. You'll never be promoted.
Wow.
And I had the numbers to justify the promotion.
Yeah.
So I was always to fit in, to try and be like a man. I was always trying to fit in. And what I'm learning and what you're seeing right now, and especially with the emergence of AI and where COVID really accelerated this, is wait a minute, let's be authentic. Let's be genuine, which are two totally different things. Genuine is being kind. Authentic is being who you are. You can be authentically a jerk. You're being authentic.
We know people like this.
Yes, you're authentic, but it's also to be genuine, which means I care about you. And that goes back to the two-way conversation. And so if I can showcase that I see value and hear you, and I truly value what you say, now I have compressed the time period of trust recession. You're going to want to know me. My reputational capital has gone through the roof. And whether or not you work with me, you want to be in my orbit and you feel connected to me.
Yeah.
So full back around, I'm full meeting with Lori. And one of the reasons I fire hose people is because I believe in them. And I can see where they're going. And Lori had it from the very beginning. And Laura Legal is not a thing, nor does it ever need to be. Just like Laura Math doesn't ever need to be a thing. And so who did I rely on when I needed help? Lori. Because Lori's reputational capital was through the roof with me. And because she was able to understand what I was going through, I was completely lost. I didn't even know what to ask.
Yeah.
And she filled in the blanks for me, filled in the rest of the sentence. So where this is all going, it's about connection. It's about meaningfulness. And what I will tell you is if you want to get the best out of AI, you've got to be able to ask the best question. One of the things my clients tell me are like, Laura, you write the best prompts, because I write the best questions. I know how to get good input to get good output. That's true of talking to people. That's true of building a relationship. The same principles apply across the board. It's about having a two-way conversation and really thinking about the other person, putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, oh, that's what it is. So this whole thinking of the ideal client matters, whether you're dealing with a boss, whether you're dealing with marketing, whether you're dealing across an association, or you're serving on the national board with lawyers. Like, wait a minute, what's the real objective? And then reverse engineering it. So I feel like with AI, we can compress that and do things we couldn't do before. The marketing that would normally take me, 6 months to a year to do with clients, I can do it sometimes a month to 3 months, depending how fast the client works. So it's very fascinating what we can do. Social media campaigns, we can knock those out very clearly once we've got a solid foundation. And so the kind of things that we have to produce now and the automation, does it mean that we get to work more? I don't think so. I would hope it means that we get to connect more.
I think so too. I think one of the things that I feel, it's neutral, right? It's not good or bad. It's what any new medium is what you make of it. And so I think there's a lot of good that can come from a lot of the technology that we have, and there's a lot of bad, but I think it really gets back to the good and bad that just exists in human nature, my opinion. Okay. I think there's just different outlets so I look at social media as really morally neutral, not good or bad. I look at AI as something that by itself is morally neutral. It's just how we use that. It is scary, some of the things that can come from that. But one thing, Laura, and I don't know, what your thoughts would be, but just from my own personal experience for the last, it's 2025. So if you look at the time period of 2005 to 2025, with what I do, estate planning, probate, with what we do, it's very much about education. However, what has changed is the beginning of this practice was during a time where people didn't know. So they were coming to me to find out and be educated. That has evolved into a proliferation of information. I think when you're saying this trust factor, it's almost debunking information that's out there or clarifying information. And I don't know what your thoughts would be for a business like ours, where, I feel like we've adapted and adjusted and try to be mindful of that. But, how do you see that as a different conversation when before you are completely, I don't know, I would almost say people trusted me more. I don't mean me personally, but the information more, because they wouldn't just, my biggest competition information was someone's brother's uncle's cousin who died in Arizona 30 years ago. So that's an easier one to say, that's not really the same situation, you realize. But we even have, just to give you an example, we even have appraisal districts in Texas telling people that they can just remove a spouse's name from the records, making them think that if your spouse dies and you just go and show the death certificate to the appraisal district, that property is now completely moved into the surviving spouse's name, which is legally not how it works in Texas. Not to get too too much of a nuanced question there, but I'm just curious, how do you see that? If things are about conversations, how do you change that conversation where you have more, we'll use the word trust because you brought it up, but more deference to our knowledge, and now we're competing with AI, DIY, and just the internet and social media when it comes to trying to educate people about how things actually work. Besides a podcast called One of Us Knows What We're Talking About, and the other one is you, what suggestions would you have for people? Because I know I'm not alone in this, and I know the estate planning and legal industry is not alone in this. What are your thoughts on that?
I think and it's a great question. And I think it's two things. One, back to the fire hose analogy, everyone right now has access to every data on the planet all at once and instantly. That's a great thing and a bad thing. That's a fire hose. There's a lot of noise coming at people. And so they can pick and choose what they choose to believe. And people have really dug their heels in the sand and become very opinionated. This is what I'm standing on, and this is it. No, you're wrong. And it becomes a right, wrong versus I need to learn. And so what needs to happen is there needs to be some problem awareness. And so when people come to me, and for your business, since I've worked with you, so I'm a little familiar, it boils down to a couple of things. Number one, I know you have a really good connection to your foundational elements. Most companies don't. And that's number one. They do not have a deep connection, and you can see it in all their messaging because it looks more like they're throwing mud at the wall. So that's problem one. Problem two is, do you really understand the top 3 pain points of your ideal client? And do you understand what their pain point is seasonally? The seasonality of pain has really changed in the past 12 months simply because of what's going on politically and economically. This has nothing to do with what your belief is. It's just the state of where we are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And so where can you give people certainty In fact, just today with my coach, we were talking about what do clients really want? Do they want speed to a solution or do they want a certain solution? And what we're seeing is certainty. And I am seeing that. I'm seeing that people want certainty in what they're doing. And so we need to understand what certainly looks like for our ideal clients and then speak that language over and over and over. And the minute you say something that is more certain, now you've cut through the noise. So I'll use me as an example. So I'm definitely, and this is probably a phrase that I'm going to be the only one that knows because I'm old enough to know it. But there's a phrase that the cobbler, the cobbler's kids have the worst shoes. Like you've heard something like that, right? Okay. And so it stands to reason as a marketer, all of my clients had great marketing. Me, not so much. And so I was like, okay, I'm missing something. So I'm investing in a coach and mastermind. I needed someone to do for me what I do for everybody else, but I knew I was missing something. And I got down to a message that sounded good. So I simplify your marketing to amplify your impact. Sounds good. Rolled off. Okay, it was a good 30-second, but it wasn't the deep-rooted pain point. And I knew it, but I ran with it.
Yeah.
And I just kept going and going and going. And then finally it clicked with the help of my coach. And I realized what people wanted was lead generation, not marketing. They wanted leads. They wanted quality leads, people ready to pay them. They wanted that. Then I shifted my languaging. I help you with stress-free lead generation so you can stop shiny object syndrome and you don't have to throw mud at the wall anymore. Okay, now I'm in. Now people are like raising their hand, coming to me. And then I shifted the messaging on my top of funnel messaging, which is social media, to that.
Yeah.
Now people were coming to me. This is how I was selling out high ticket and having to launch a new program. That's how that happens. So to answer your question, it's what's the pain point right now seasonally, but what's the overarching pain point and how can I speak to that? Those are the things that I find my clients are typically missing. And with my clients that are in my programs or that I work directly with, we are actually checking in. We've got a process to check in what the seasonality pain point is monthly.
Yeah.
Used to be annually, then twice a month. Now it's monthly because we need to do that. I just helped one of my clients onboard a social media person. And the one thing I told them is please do not write content beyond 90 days. In fact, for your first 90 days, I want you to only write no further out than 30 because I need to get you into the rhythm and the understanding of what the pain point is. You don't know what the 90-day pain point is. We need to make sure you know the today pain point and write to that. So that would be the one thing is the pain point. The second thing that I also, so no foundation connection, don't really understand their ideal client pain points. And then the third one is they don't know how their clients consume content. And so, for example, back when we were talking newsletters, those work. I have a client who has a huge middle of funnel email list. They open, she's got all the data to support her traditional newsletter. I told her, keep it running. Whatever's working, keep it running. Someone starting new, newsletters are dead. You're going to want more of a conversation in an email. And there's a variety of different styles that we do. So when you say newsletter, what you're meaning, as I say this with air quotes, is more of a weekly email. We're having a conversation with your ideal client. And so are you having more of that conversation with them and realizing that things need to evolve? What's your middle of funnel strategy that has evolved with the times so that you can engage people in a more direct way? And so what happens is most everybody throws everything up on top of funnel. We're going to buy more ads. We're going to do every social media platform. But you don't even know how they consume content and what their platform is. And so if they consume content by reading, why are you going to produce an email? They don't, I mean, if they're wanting to do video, for example, why are you doing the long-winded email? Or the reverse, you're doing video and they want to read. You need to know how they consume content and then what their platform is. And so when you understand that, it makes everything stupid simple. It makes it an easy yes, easy no, easy not right now.
All right,
So,
Laura, I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, that's what my answer would be. That's just all I was going to say.
So I'm going to ask you an unfair question because now I'm getting to a point where you should bill me for asking this question because now I'm making you now you're beyond because now I'm going to be like okay we're going to workshop something. So something I am curious. So something that Sarah and I kind of beat our heads over with is our unsubscribe rate. Now we're trying to figure it out because we have a chief marketing officer that we talk about. And so, and even when you Google, I don't know, like the industry standard, what is it? Say, Sarah, is it like
He says it's like
0.02%?
yeah, it's like 0.5%.
Yeah. Ours is like 3 to 4%. And so I will tell you, and I'm open to anything. I don't care. I don't have an ego about it. I will just say that I feel like the content is good. I do feel like the messages, they are hitting pain points. They're doing that. We do a nice mixture of education, easy to digest videos, like all of that. But of course, elephant in the room, it could be the messaging. But we've played with the frequency. And so we were having some success where we were scaling back to maybe, I think initially, and this is only in a certain pipeline, like every 3 days. And I'll tell you why we were doing that in a second. And then we kind of scaled to 4 and to 5, and we were seeing it go down, but then we've seen it kind of go back up, and that's still like excessively high. I want to add one little thing, which is actually what I was originally going to mention until I'm like, oh no, I'm going to pick her brain. She can bill me later. But I firmly believe I wouldn't have been able to identify this early on, but after 2 decades, I feel pretty confident in that I understand and that I've been able to evolve with people. I think by and large, cost and time are excuses for a lot of people. There's just complacency. There's
Correct.
a lack of sense of urgency, because
Correct.
our most motivated people that are like, I got to get this done, either they've just experienced a loss and they had a good experience with the legal system, or they had a bad experience with the legal system. So a good one and they want to replicate it, a bad one and they never want to put their family through it. Those, or they're going to have surgery, or they're going to go on a major vacation. Like, those are easy. Like, they're calling, don't sell me. I just need to get this done. And I think the other piece is that I didn't intentionally create this as my niche. But if I do, one of Sarah's favorite things, a Venn diagram, we are very catered towards, that's a good inside joke, Laura. I'll have to tell you about it later.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Because there's like, tell me about it later. Don't talk about it on the podcast. But families with young children and the LGBT community. So then you've got this huge intersection there. And originally I just thought they're easy to sell to, but truly what it is that those are people that realize that there's a huge risk to not having that protection for their families. So little ones, and now that I'm in that category, I can't even fathom a judge deciding who would take care of them the rest of their lives, or the rest of their young lives till 18. And then in the LGBTQ community, and that's been very interesting, because when you talk about seasonal and or political, and I loved what you said about what can you control, the uncertainty, because I do feel like a lot of the overwhelm can be an excuse for people not to, that complacency that we deal with. And one thing since the election, frankly, particularly with the LGBT community, is concerned about just everything, frankly, but certainly losing marriage equality, or at least rights and or acceptance, frankly, being scaled back. And they all want me to answer, like, what's going to happen? Are we going to lose marriage? Are we going to lose marriage? And being in Texas, can they void the marriage? This or that. The answer to that, my friends, is we don't know. And it is frightening. But what I always try to do is, what do we know? What can we control? Is getting this plan in place. There's nothing different about what the most you can do to protect yourself. So anyway, that was a long kind of response and thoughts to what you were saying, but complacency is our biggest thing. But back to the newsletter and the unsubscribe rate. Well, it's not even newsletter. It's more just our messages. Like, do you have any sort of thoughts on that? Are we not understanding like what our demographics are really, how they're wanting to consume this? Because I'm not sure I have an answer to what it is they want. I'd have to think through that.
I'm going to think that that's probably the answer. It's time to evolve. And number two, it's not up for you to think about it. It's about you having a conversation. And so what I would encourage you to do is anyone that's unsubscribed, immediately send an email and say, you're totally unsubscribed. I'm curious what caused you to subscribe so that I can make things do better.
Sarah.
That's it. Not why did you unsubscribe? What made you unsubscribe?
Sarah,
there's a whole study, and I can send.
I know. I'm taking notes.
I can send you where I got this from. This is not my creation, but I was reading something many years ago, and the person was documenting how they did. Somebody who was canceling their subscription on software. This was a software company, and they said that they kept asking. They were like, "Hey, we've never surveyed those that canceled." I'm like, "Well, then you have no idea. You're making a guess. You're throwing mud at the wall, basically." And so they started asking the question, but the question was with why. Why means it's putting you in it, which puts you in the front and center of being judged, which means I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to answer. What is outside of me? And so I'm more likely to respond to what? And they were able to increase their response rate significantly. And what happened was the person that replied, this CEO actually answered, not an assistant or anybody else that was running, not the marketing manager. It was truly the CEO that had signed the email and replied and said, "Thank you so very much. You've been unsubscribed. This has been super helpful." Person replied and they started a dialogue. They're like, "Well, I'm just curious, what would have made you stay? I'm not selling anything. I really want to know."
Huh.
And through this dialogue, found out what the problem was and solved it. And this guy actually came back. And so I was like, that's really powerful. And so back to this kind of middle of funnel strategy, the same thing happened with one of my clients who was ignoring middle of funnel. And so first of all, an unsubscribe rate, let me just speak to that, is a healthy thing. You want people that want to be on your list. You want ideal clients, not just a large list for the sake of a large list.
Yeah.
But a consistent unsubscribe number that you're having, there's a miss somewhere. You got to figure it out. So I would have an unsubscribe quick question of what? If there's someone who unsubscribed that you know, which likely they are, you pick up the phone and you call them. And you go, "Hey, I have one question for you, but this would be super, super helpful." And then you ask the question, you get quiet, and you say, "This is so helpful, thank you." If you have the wherewithal, I had one of my clients do this, and she was like, "Laura, it was the best conversation." She was kind of, resisting it, not sure what she was going to hear, or how they were horrible, or it wasn't any of that. Some things impacted her and she was able to improve upon. A lot of it had nothing to do with what they were doing. It was no longer a fit. And so, but the information was helpful to not have to change something. And so she would write, I told her, if you have the wherewithal, do a handwritten thank you note. And she dropped a gift card to really just show her thanks. And even to someone who's leaving, that person came back and referred. Now, you don't do that to get the referral. But if the whole idea is about building a meaningful relationship, so back to my relational networking description, having a meaningful conversation to build a lasting and authentic relationship, are we having conversations with our clients and the ones that leave us? That's where the data lies. That's free market research, and it'll stop the throwing the mud. So I would recommend to get 3 to 5 people. Odd numbers are best. It doesn't need to be, let me call 25 people, 3 to 5 people, ask that question, record the conversation. And if the conversation goes longer, do not interpret what they say. Do not interpret what they say. It's really easy to do that. So if someone were to say, for example, Lori, it was just, this information was just too much. You would make an assumption what you think too much is. You go, well, tell me more. What do you mean by too much?
Yeah.
Their too much could be frequency of emails that are being sent, not what's inside the email.
Yeah.
Or you're thinking frequency and they're talking about content within. You have to figure out what is it that they really mean by that. So I had and so I would think that would work. Like when I was wordsmithing something with somebody and I was trying to help figure out what the right word was for them. And I said, well, what I'm hearing you say is, and I said, passion, having passion. And they go, no, that's definitely not the word. And I was just weird. And I was like, I don't understand how that could not be the word. And I said, well, tell me more. What does passion mean to you? And he says, well, I'm a Christian and I associate it with the passion of Jesus Christ. So it's suffering, it's death. And I went, okay. And I'm like, okay, now I see why that word's not aligned to you. Great. Moving on. Not where, that's also a definition for me as well, but it was not the first way I was interpreting it. And so I've learned to never interpret what a client says to me and to make sure that I'm really understanding what they're saying. So that's what I would suggest to you. But I would also bless and release those that are no longer a fit.
Yeah. So one thing, Laura, earlier that you were saying is the shiny object syndrome. And I feel like people don't always understand that they have it. And then another piece is they are not understanding when they overcorrect it. So they're like, they see like, oh no, am I just getting excited? So they do some more research to talk themselves out of something. And I feel that's one thing that we also have to like kind of look at. It's like, okay, how do we not have both? You know, what's the happy medium?
The happy medium is you hire me and we monetize a program that solves this problem. No, I'm just kidding. No, but what I really think to answer the question, it is, but that's to be all serious. That's a problem for everybody, and every one of my clients is having it. Even I'm having it. It's why I hired someone. I'm like, I've got a gap from top of funnel to this program. It's not going to happen. The conversion's not going to happen with the trust recession. There's got to be something in the middle, and I don't know what the middle is. And so through the work, I figured out what it was. And so now I've got an 8-week program. Here's the thing. It's a certain program. It's time constrained. You've got 8 weeks. And I can tell you for certain what the outcome is going to be. Versus an open end that might be the same for you. You might be falling victim to like a lot of consultants, clients, coaches, where yes, I have a document, it's certain, but it's not certain when I'm going to need it. And so for you guys, you are dealing with uncertainty, and that's the problem. And so what you need to, that's really your competition is uncertainty. It's not the shiny object. You have to take people to their pain point and really connect it to them. My coach says you have to punch them in the face. And, and you have to really get in them and punch them in the face. It's like, Laura, where are you going to punch them in the face? And so I think you guys need to get to the pain point and punch them in the face. And I'm guilty of this. I am definitely your ideal client and your worst client all wrapped up in one. Yeah. Because I am because I put it off until the crisis punches me in the face.
Yep.
I'm waiting until after fire recovery to get all of our paperwork in order.
Don't do that.
I know instinctively this is a stupid move. I know this is a stupid move. This is why I say I'm your worst client. Anyone listening to this, if you're doing this, don't do that. Because for years, every time I would hear Lori talk about or hear her talk, about estate planning, I would run home to my mom. So fast forward, my dad died in 2003. We immediately made sure my mom had a will because neither one of them had one. And my mom got it done. Okay, so now I'm hearing Lori speak over the past 10, 15 years. And Lori's like, hey, if your will's older than 5 years, you need to get it updated. Okay, so about 15 years ago, I'm having this on loop with my mom. Mom, it's over 5 years. Mom, we're at the 8-year mark. Mom, we're at the 10-year mark. Mom, we're at the 15-year mark. 2023 summertime, Mom, she's like, Laura, she has the list of all the things she's going to do. Construction in the house, water damage, all the things she was fixing in the house that are still needing to be fixed. Okay, great. Last on that list, talk to Lori. Okay, I'm not kidding you. Lori spoke to ABWA. What was it? July of 2023. You spoke at Open or whatever it is. Mom, certainly. We need to get your paperwork or something to this effect is what I told her. And she's like, yes, we'll put it last. Let me get this, and this done, and we'll put it last. 2 months later, my mom's diagnosed with cancer. 2 months after that, my mother made the decision to not pursue treatment. Oh shit, Mom, I need you to get your paperwork outdated. I don't think I can take care of you. I don't think I have what we need for me to get you through this. And so now we're scrambling. And now my fire drill, sadly, it's not a fire, my poor planning's not a fire drill on your part is a saying I love to have, but I'm like, oh, please, can you help me out? And so now I'm coming to you as your worst client ever. Dealing with my mom, dealing with everything and the most stressed out, having to make decisions. This is the worst time to make decisions.
Yeah, it is.
The reason you want it done, the blessing that I learned early on when I was caregiving for my grandparents is they had all their paperwork done. They had their funerals prepaid. And so it made it so easy for all of us when they passed. It was the best gift they could give us.
Right.
Over any inheritance, over anything. It was such a loving gift. Yeah. And even with that experience, I'm still your worst client. So how do you get me to that pain point? How do you talk to me about that pain point? It's not education.
Yeah.
It's crafting scenarios to punch me in the face.
Yeah.
It's doing the Star Wars Darth Vader death grip. Do you know where you are right now? So I was giving you a testimonial, and it was shortly after I had heard you speak, and I'm talking to a client of mine, and I forget how it came up, and it just hit me, and I was like, I need to say something. I said, I'm going to say something to you. I know I've said this to you before, but you really need to talk to Lori and get this covered. And I, as best I could, restated one of the pain points that stuck with me in your talk, because it was a punch in the face. And so I said it to them. She's like, no, that's not true. I said, how do you know for sure? They're like, well, I don't. I said, I don't know about you, but Laura legal's not a thing. I'm not a lawyer. Are you? And they're like, no. I said, what if it's true? Are you willing to risk it? I'm like, I love you and I want you to be okay. They're like, Laura, I never even thought of that. They have kids and that was a motivation. I was like, if something were to happen to the two of you, do you realize that the kids don't automatically go to your parents?
Yeah.
They could be a ward of the state. Are you okay with that? No, I'm not okay with that, but that's not what's going to happen. How do you know? I don't.
Yeah.
I said, can I give you an action item? And I'm always giving homework to my clients. I'm like, make that phone call and then call me back and let me know what happened. Let's find out what's true. Let's see if I'm wrong. I could have restated it wrong. I'm glad to be wrong on this. I go, but just make the phone call.
Yeah.
She did.
You know, what so much of this always resonates with, to me, it was just a toss away when I started my practice. And I got it from my mom when my mom had a business that would contract out with attorneys to do estate planning. So the whole tagline for Burch Law is not original to me. It's from my mom. I don't know where she got it. Doesn't matter at this point. R&D forever. So, but to me, I don't think I realized until I started becoming more savvy with messaging and pain points and this and that the ultimate punch in your face tagline is, if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. And
Right.
You know, there was even a time period where I was going to get away from that. And I mean, I had the Plano Chamber of Commerce rioting if I wasn't going to use that tagline anymore. And I had people who said every time I would hear, I just felt like just right in my gut. And that's what got me to do it. I'm like, it's just so simple. And I often joke, but I mean, I'm serious about it. But I think, you know, we have to play to our strengths. So if we have to live in Texas, we need to play off the reputation of Texas, because I think if you don't have a will, the state of Delaware has one for you. I don't think that hits differently, right? I mean, it's like, okay, like, what's Delaware going to do? I'm not scared at all of Delaware. But I think that I don't know of any better way. But the other thing I was going to say to you that's interesting about the passion is that another message that I found resonates with people is it's the number one thing that we hear from everybody, and they don't want to leave a mess. But what I've tried to, so like saying that, like, haha, you've got people's attention. But what I've talked to my team about is, but what does a mess look like to them? And that's the next question for them. Because when we say that, we know we've got their attention of, do you want to leave a mess? I mean, it's one of the most common things. You want things to be easy, straightforward, and not to leave a mess. That's not the legacy you want to live. That's not the final chapter of your story. But I think we just assume what leaving a mess looks like. But I think people need to tell us what, would you agree? And then what does leaving a mess look like for you? Because we may be really surprised what it looks like to them.
Yeah. So you're seeing me count because I'm wanting to, and you said it, so it's right. Have you ever heard of the term of the 9-word email?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Use it. It's one of the most successful things we do.
That's a 9-word email you need to put out.
Share it for people who are listening.
You need to do it out. You need to do a 9-word email out on email, and you need to turn it into a top of funnel campaign, not a single post, because not everybody sees everything. This needs to be a 90-day campaign, number one. Okay, so you're wanting to meet a workshop. That's what it is. So it needs to be a 90-day campaign, and then you're going to move into a secondary 90-day campaign that you will mimic top and middle of funnel. So to explain a 9-word email is when you're just not getting the results in your email. Maybe you're getting unsubscribes and you're finding yourself in a similar situation to Lori. And you're like, I don't even know anymore. You simply do a 9-word email. And so what does leaving a mess for your family look like? It's got to be 9 words. Otherwise they won't tune out. So trimmed that down. I had it, but then I lost it. So to you, right? What does leaving a mess look like to you? And then something to that effect. And then the email, the subject line needs to be really, really, really bold.
That's exactly.
Yeah, the subject line needs to be really, really bold. And there's a tool that I love to use that I will share with you. Subjectline.com. If you are not turned on to this tool, it's free. It's a website, subjectline.com. Jay Swedelson does this. It's a great, great tool. And what you can do is you pop in what you think the subject line needs to be for this email, because the first point of resistance and friction you're going to have is the subject line. I don't care how great your 9-word email is if the email, if the resistance isn't here, they're not going to click into it, right? So the whole idea of marketing, and so just to break it all down, marketing is not selling. Let me just ruin that for everybody. Marketing is not selling. You're not pitch slapping people in social media. It's marketing. It's having conversations.
I just love that.
It's not that. Okay. And so the idea is reducing friction and making the client journey seamless and punching them in the face so they can feel the true pain of doing the course of action. Are they ready to move away from what they're doing now? That's it. That's all it is right now. And then what's the tool, the vehicle that moves them from a marketing client into a sales opportunity? And then now sales takes over. That's what it is. And so on subjectline.com, you can pop in what this email is, and it'll grade it for you. And then if you scroll down, it'll give you AI suggestions. Here's a pro tip. When you find one that you like, because having a name in it, having an emoji, there's all these different things that increase the open rate. So let's say of the AI suggestion, so it'll score your original one based on a score of 100. So let's say you get an 80. Or there's some I saw was a 59. I was like, okay, that's really low. And so we picked one of the AI ones, and I copied it and I ran it. I rescored it, and it came back as a 79. Well, it was better than 59, but I didn't love it. And so on the one it suggested, we had rescored it. We're like, okay, what are some of these other new ones? Let's see, what are these? And so we kept playing with it until we got the score of 100. We're like, great, let's use that one. They got a higher open rate on their 9-word email than before because they were able to use that subject line. But in other words, the number one rule is you don't just copy paste out of AI. It needs human interaction, which is why I'm telling you, massage it. Massage it. Yeah. Right. And so, but let AI help.
That people miss. Like, you can't just let it take it and go. You have to do something.
No. It's a mistake. And especially nowadays. So like pitching for the media, I do pitch a lot of the media for articles and things of that nature, but they're going to run it through an AI detector. Fun fact, I can write something from scratch, and when I run it through the AI detector, it'll tell me I sound like AI. Yeah. Guess what? I'm not going to get picked up by the press. They're not going to like that. Guess what? Now on certain AI apps are filtering through emails that might have been written by AI. So if you're trying to reach your ideal client, the same problem is going to happen if they've activated, hey, anything that looks like has an AI score of X, filter this out. And so now you're in the spam folder they will never check. And so there's a lot of things you have to realize to make sure that you can cut through the noise to get into the inbox. Now you're in the inbox. Now you've got to get seen. One email is not going to do it. Yeah. You're going to have to create a campaign. You're going to have to create a campaign. And so campaign number 1 to finish the workshopping is you're going to do the 9-word, what's the mess to you? You're going to do the mess campaign. You're start asking, what does it look like? And you're just going to data collect, and it's going to brainstorm. Next 90-day run, you're going to outline the will as according to the state of Texas.
Yeah. Oh, we got that ready to go. So we can do that.
Yeah. So here's the book, but you're going to campaign it. Did you know? And it's going to be really factored. And the way that it's presented, 100% of how you're going to do it is going to come out of that first 90-day run, what people say. And you're going to position the mess to the will. And it's going to be from the mess because everyone doesn't have a will. It's like me saying, I'm going to give you a free consultation. In the scope of free consultation, free has no value. You're not taking me up on it. Oh, I can come back to that. Right. So with a will, the problem is I can come back to that because we all think we're not there yet. You need to go right for pain points. So pull the will out. Here's what Texas would do for you. You got to reframe it. to the mess statement, which we don't know yet. We don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We can guess. I can give you what I think it is, but we don't know.
Right.
I want you to grab it from real people, get real world data, and then punch them in the face in the second 90 days. All of a sudden, you're going to see things change. I suspect if I had to make a guess on a newsletter, and I haven't seen it, so I don't know, but if I had to suspect, it might just be too much stuff, not the value of it. Yeah. It's just too much in one framework. They don't have time, so they're out. Yeah. And so it may be to just break it apart into bite-sized chunks or reframe it somehow. But the way to know what to do with that, I think, comes out of these 2 90-day runs, and then you start to evolve. There's another way that I can help you. So Lori, we can talk offline to where I can help you talk to a client. It'll be real easy. I can do it very quickly for you so that you will know what the pain points are to position the first 90-day run so that you're positioned on all sorts. So that would be what top of mind is coming to me. But then you're executing on real world data from people. Here's the other thing that's going to happen. The people that you're connecting with and asking are now ambassadors. Like, hey, did you talk to Lori? Hey, did you see her email? Hey, have you seen? Now all of a sudden you've got people talking about you behind your back in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So that's how you create the ripple effect. And that's the intersection, to be honest, between relational
network. Have you
network.
seen our postcards?
Yeah. So Sam, Sarah, and Cynthia, you just got the fire hose treatment from Laura that I was telling you about that I had 20 years ago.
Sorry.
No, I
mean, it's like, I feel like we could just go on and on with this stuff. I mean, I really do. And maybe we had this happen with my friend Jamie Dugan, who does family law. And it's like, we just have to do a part 2 because there's just too much. There's just too much. And no, I think that's great. I don't know if you have just a few more minutes of time because you really,
whatever you need.
You really don't want to miss Sam and Sarah's kind of can we call it a ask the expert sort of thing?
Yeah.
I haven't really looked closely enough. Okay. So before we do that, Laura, is there anything that you feel like we've left unsaid, or have we put it all out on the field? Do you feel?
I feel the only thing left unsaid is call Lori Burch. Schedule your consult, schedule your time to get your paperwork in order, get your sheet together. You will be so glad you will. It's the best stress reliever. It's the best gift you can give yourself. And so that you don't get punched in the face.
Yeah, don't get punched in the face, or I'm going to do it for the state of Texas. Will do it for you. Okay, so to be respectful of everybody's time, I mean, not super respectful, but trying at least.
Trying.
Sam and Sarah, what do you have for Laura? What have you cooked up?
So we've cooked up some networking tips, mostly Star Wars related, but we want to know your opinions.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with number 1. Do you think it's a good idea to, when networking, talk like Yoda when you meet new people? Like, would that work?
I think that's actually a genius idea because you're absolutely going to, people are going to be like, wait, what? Versus what do you do? How are you? Or going into a pitch slap method. You're going to go ahead and stand out. Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing because it's about having a conversation. It's not about a one way.
Do you mean the voice, or do you mean reversing?
Everything.
Okay.
I say either or. I think yes and yes.
Green,
do all
got
of
the
it.
Ears.
You have the
Yeah.
I think the best thing I ever did, the best thing I ever did was reverse trick or treating. Lori, you saw me that day because I went to see you. I did reverse trick or treating, which was a way of networking, and I had I was Princess Leia, but I was Princess PMS, and I had torn apart from my mom's. She had this dried flower arrangement thing, but it had these like fake pieces of bread. And so I had one round piece of bread and I had one really long piece of bread stuck to the side where they would have the Princess Leia buns. And I just went around doing that for people. Do you know how much fun I had? Because I wasn't soliciting. So anybody that had a no solicitation sign, I could walk in. I was reverse trick-or-treating. I was going and giving gifts to everybody. And so I wasn't soliciting anything. Do you know how many people gave me their cards and told me to call them? Do you know how many people were like, this was the greatest thing ever. Hey, can we take a picture with you? Oh my gosh, we're having a Halloween party. You have to join us. And I didn't know any of these people. So yeah, by all means, dress like Leota, do or do not. There is no try. Do it all. Yes, do all of that.
All right.
Wait, Sarah, what was the meme that I did with Yoda? If a will you do not have one for you, Texas does.
That's good. That's
good.
I love it. I love it.
What's next?
Okay, the next one is, should you bring a lightsaber so everyone knows you're cool and wants to talk to you?
I mean, don't you always carry one? I mean, I don't understand why that would not be. In all fairness, I feel be you. Whatever it is, be you. I'm not a big, one of the words that I want to remove from my vocabulary, my clients' vocabulary, is the word should. We have a tendency to should on ourselves. And let other people should on us.
Man,
and so
I love these.
And so I want you to stop shitting on yourself. And so this is where I didn't feel like I fit in as a girl, because I love all things Star Wars. I can actually do the Guido and Han Solo scene, and I can do Guido because my brother was Han Solo, so I know the foreign language. And yes, I know Han Solo shot first, and so I can do that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so I did, yeah. And so when I was in high tech, I was this cool girl because I knew this stuff, and I could actually play football and all these things. Okay, the girls were like, what is wrong with you? Do you not know blah, blah, blah? And they would rattle off some designer thing that I knew nothing about, so I didn't feel like I fit in. And so what I've learned is just be you. I mean, I've got Grogu behind me, and I've got, those footballs are mine. Those are signed autographed footballs. Those are mine, not my brother's. And so yes, yeah, I did not let the fire crew from having fire recovery. No, they are not taking that. Those were mine. I'll leave them here. But you have to be you in whatever's authentically you. And so having lightsabers, yeah, in networking, I would ask the question, what's something most people don't know about you that would be fun for me to know? I would just ask different questions. And they were like, well, what about you? And I go, oh, I have a lightsaber collection, which was really my answer. So yes, if you have a lightsaber, why not?
Well, I think part of Laura's advice just there is one of the truest things we could say about Burch Law, and that's being authentically you. I think we excel at that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right. I'm now looking at what you all put. Laura, I wish you could have, well, no, it's probably better not to have seen any of these ahead of time. What's next? Come on. Let's go.
Okay. Not Star Wars related, but should you stalk the person you want to network with and show up to their house?
Yes, and kind of.
Oh,
Okay. Laura, we see you.
By house, so I pivoted online 8 years ago due to autoimmunes and Lyme. And so my business office house is this screen. And there was somebody that I saw online that had said they were coming to my company's Down and Dirty Networking event. And her acronym at the time was Networking Ninja. And so but she never would attend. She would say that she was coming, but she wouldn't attend. I'm like, all right, the Stress Commando needs to know the Networking Ninja. Who are you? And so I started stalking her and attending all her lives and commenting. I was like, I need to know who this Networking Ninja was. And so I just was drawn to her, and I just kept stalking her and messaging. And you could tell she was, like kind of pushing me away. So kind of like, Lori, like what you had us do at the very beginning, And so that was her holding me at a distance. And finally, I broke her down, and we were able to have a conversation. Fast forward to today. She's one of my dearest friends. We like to laugh. I go, yeah, I stalked her. And the people that I've met through her have been some of my best colleagues. So yes, I do believe you meet them where they are. Are you knocking on their front door? I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. But if you do knock on my front door, I'm probably going to recruit you to something, just so you know.
It's true. That's true. I've seen it happen.
All right.
No, I gotta, just recently, Cynthia and we were talking to someone who was talking about the podcast and how they'd watched all these episodes and was like repeating back. And I'm like, are you stalking us? And then I'm thinking, wasn't the point of the podcast like for people to listen? Like it was completely, they completely were exhibiting the whole point of why we do this. But at some point it felt like such an intrusion to our intimacy of something that we put out for everybody in the world to see and hear. It just never occurred to me people listen to this.
I think healthy stalking.
A great session.
Yeah,
other people will hear it.
Well, and I hope so. I hope I get a good giggle out of it, which is really what I think more people need. Good giggle.
All right, there's a few more.
Okay,
What's the
number
next one?
4. Inviting them over for a movie night, but it's not a date. We just want to connect and have a good time.
What is connecting and what does
So,
having a good time mean to
Is
you?
that a good idea, Laura?
Being
Is that a good
friends.
networking idea? I think they're asking.
I think it is, because if I invite you over to watch Star Wars and you say you've never seen it, we have a problem. I don't know that we can be connected. I don't know if you can be in my sphere of influence, but I have a responsibility to change this for you. So I think that needs that. It's a moral imperative. And so, and that is a very obscure pop reference if you didn't get it, Lori. So anyway, moral imperative. And so anyway, no, I think it is a good idea. You want to connect, have fun. Right now, we're still in what Cigna has deemed as a loneliness epidemic, in all seriousness, and it's a global epidemic. And you can be in an office. 70% of the people that say that they are lonely are in an office and are surrounded by people. And it's because they don't feel like they belong. They don't believe that they're being seen, heard, and valued. And this is why I created Down and Dirty Networking, because I was on the island of alone after being diagnosed. I could no longer go to ABWA. I could no longer speak on keynotes. I could no longer leave the house. Heck, I was struggling to get up and down the stairs. We almost had to sell our house. And so I really could have used some connection. And so I had this crazy idea of turning 16 years worth of corporate trainings and workshops and speeches into an experience so that selfishly I could attend. And it wasn't until COVID that my idea that everyone very politely just golf clapped and said, Laura, you do that. In COVID, it was like, hey, are you doing that Down and Dirty Networking thing? And I was like, crap, I'm not physically ready to do this, but okay, let's launch the thing. So I really feel inviting over for a movie is solving that loneliness epidemic. And if it's Star Wars, yeah, why not? Let's do that.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm disappointed, Sarah. You're not going to ask about running away to do your secret wish of being a DJ or whatever that is that you bring up every
That's
time.
not for
Oh
this-
my God, we
that's
haven't
not
done
for
that
this
for a
one.
while.
Let's go to number
I
5.
know. Yeah, number 5.
All right. If you don't like the person, should you shoot first? This is the Han Solo reference.
If you're an OG at Star Wars, yeah. I mean, come on. Cad Bane was going to shoot you first anyway. Mandalorian had to do it. If you're an Andor, you've got to shoot first before they get it. It doesn't matter. You have to protect yourself. It's a galaxy far, far away. Now, in real life, in this world, in this galaxy, no.
Okay.
Unless you're cosplaying, then that's different.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Two more, I think.
Okay. This is our last one, and then Cynthia has a story.
Okay.
Is it okay to bring up the topic of how much you love your wife, but you're just like kind of really scared that she's going to die because of a dream you had, because she's having your baby, and is it okay to kind of trauma dump on them and see if they have solutions before you become a bad guy?
I don't know where they come up with this stuff, frankly.
This one's not original.
I saw episode 3 in theaters for the re-release, so that's where it came from.
It's Darth Vader.
So trauma dumping.
Yeah.
Your wife is Padme.
Yeah.
And she's pregnant with your twins.
But you don't know it's twins.
But you don't know it's twins.
To be fair.
Yeah.
But you just keep having these dreams that she's going to die in childbirth. And then it turns out you're the reason she dies because of your panic. It's fine.
Yeah.
He's a little
So I feel like if we're just meeting for the first time, it might be a little bit of TMI.
Okay, that's what I
but just a smidge. But in the spirit of fire hose, if you just want to get right to it, go
get it out of the way.
Just get it all.
You've only got 9 months to figure it out.
Yeah, that's valid. That's totally valid. But if you really want help to work through the dreams, so if you're like, oh my gosh, do you ever have weird dreams, and how do you move through them and interpret them? Might be as much as you want to say for that first, to see if they're even down with having that discussion. Because you're about ready to go torch some sand people. It's probably important that you work through your issues and have someone who can support you. So just kind of be.
Okay,
cool. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. All right, Cynthia, what's this last thing you want to bring up?
So this sadly is not Star Wars related, but this is something that legitimately has happened to Sarah, and I was there too. So we are at this event.
Oh, this is a networking story.
Yes, this is an actual thing that happened to us. We're at this networking event, and it's like, okay, great. It's a happy thing. It's like for moms, and we're just not moms, but we're there. And we're just like trying to talk to people like, hi, how are you? What's your name? And so this lady comes over and she just starts out loud talking about her divorce that's happening right now and sharing a lot of details that I'm just like, wow, this is out loud in a room full of people. I feel like you need to talk to somebody, but I don't know that this is it. What would you do? Because I can tell you what we did.
Okay, tell me what you did. I can tell you I know what the cause of that is, but yes, tell me what you did.
Yes. So we looked at her and I said, oh, well, she was talking to somebody else. And I'm like, oh, excuse us. I grabbed Sarah's arm and I took her to the cookies. Because Sarah looked like she was about to melt into the floor. But she looked like she knew the person she was talking to. So I was like, okay, you have a friend here. We are not it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Sarah,
typically, yeah, we all need to go get cookies sometimes. And so, and just excuse ourselves from the situation. I think that is the first time that I really learned what the real difference is between extrovert and introvert. And so I always thought being an introvert was shy. Shyness is a lack of confidence. And so I'm like, okay, being an introvert, I can see the distinguish, but what does a shy extrovert look like? And it looks exactly like what you just described. Someone who's craving. And so the description that the coach gave was, have you ever been at like a Ross where like the rows are really tight? Like one person can barely walk through without rubbing on both sides of the clothes, right? And so you're looking and then someone needs to pass by you and they're like saying, excuse me. And you go, okay. And you move in. That excuse me, all of a sudden they just drop in the middle of a conversation about divorce, whatever. Or like, I was trying to tell her, what do you think? And you're like, I don't know you. That is a shy extrovert who is desperately craving external connection. Extroverts gain power from people. They drain power by being alone. An introvert gains power from being alone. I get drained. For me to be on this podcast, I cleared my schedule all morning so that I had full energy. This is no joke. So I would have full energy to be able to deliver this. That's fair. So for me, it's where you gain power. And so that, bless that woman, she's definitely showing you she's part of that loneliness epidemic. She's been alone too long and she's depleted. She's completely depleted. And, oh, by the way, she's dealing with a divorce. So if she's depleted, how much harder is dealing with the divorce going to be for her because she has zero in the tank to manage that? Zero. And so you have two options. You can either listen, recognizing what you're seeing and then be that blessing for them. Or if you're like, you know what, I'm really depleted right now. I am not going to be the best service to you. Then go get a cookie.
Yeah. That was just one of those. We're like, this is not the right place for us to.
It's not.
I'm going to get us out of here. She has a person.
Smart. It's smart. I mean, having those comebacks or those statements or the cookie moments where you can move past are really helpful. But having a clear understanding of what it is that you are willing to do and what you're willing to tolerate. Sometimes you're just not in a space to do it and it's not appropriate, so you move on. She'll find the person that will fill her back up.
Yeah, we saw her
she would be fine.
Talking to other people and telling them like the same, like going through everything. And it's just like, that's a lot, ma'am. But I'm glad you found people to listen to.
Too bad you didn't have Kimberly there.
Oh, Kimberly would have been great to have there.
That's like here you go.
No, because Kimberly would have just like talked to her, gotten like listened to her and given her all of that. And also she was talking about her kids and like how it's affecting them. And it's like, listen, Sarah and I are kids.
Indeed.
One of the things that I have found that the two of you might use when someone starts kind of that too much information, I lean more towards Kimberly. The empath in me kicks in, and so I definitely lean in. So like, people will leave, like do what Lori's, they'll give them to me, and I'll start talking to them. But when I get to a point where I'm kind of depleted, I said, you know what? May I treat you like you're my best friend? Okay, so this is tip number 1 on networking. When you walk in the room, treat everybody like they're your instant best friend. But then I'll ask people permission for it. Because if you treat everybody like their instant best friend, I'm not asking you, how are you? I'm coming from a place of real truth. And so where I was like, do you mind if I treat you like my best friend for a second? And most people are like, yeah, please, especially if it's that woman who's probably craving something. I said, it sounds like you're dealing with a lot and you've got a really full plate. How about we bless you today and we let this event pour into you? Let's put all of this on the shelf for tonight, today, lunch, whatever the time period is, for tonight. And let's pour into you and let's give you a break from all of that so you can deal with it in a more powerful way and in a more postured way. How does that sound to you? If they're ready to do that, they will. And then you've got a new best friend. If they're not, and they're needing to just vent for the sake of venting, or they're in some kind of victim land or something else that they have to deal with, they're going to walk away from you because they don't want to have it fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a great way to offer with a place of love and kindness to give somebody that. And it's the same thing that I used to do when employees would come into my office and just vent. And it would get to a point, I'd be like, I just have one question for you. Are you ready for a solution now or later? And they're like, oh, later. Thank you for listening to me. Yeah, I hope it was helpful. And they're gone. If they're ready for a solution, we can move them off of it. Pity party over. Let's go. Like everyone needs to throw a raging pity party every now and again. And I'm good to listen to venting, but at what point do we move through it? And so if you're not ready to move through it, great. Be where you are.
So you wouldn't suggest to do what Elaine did on Seinfeld, where she pretended to hear somebody call her name and she'd be like, oh, what? Oh yeah, I'll be right there. I'm so sorry. I gotta go. What? Oh.
You can do that too, but I think everyone's going to know. I think they're going to know. But it sounds like you guys handled it really well, Cynthia. That's a tough position to be in. You guys did well.
Yeah, I'm so sad I wasn't at that one.
You arrived later.
Yeah.
What event was this? Was it the event where we went together to that one where Jordan got carded at an open bar?
No, this was like during the day. This was like a middle of the day thing. This was.
Oh, I know what it is. Okay, you said a mom's group. Got it. On board.
Yes.
Totally brought up to speed. Totally remember the whole thing. Okay.
You got there later.
Or seriously, I mean, we may not need to have you back because we can just splice this into 2 episodes, but I still think that there's a lot of value that we could talk about. But thank you so much, my friend, for doing this. Appreciate your expertise and your knowledge and your time. And one way or another, we'll have you back. How's that sound?
That sounds like a plan. I just thank you guys for what you do. You have the amazing office staff. You're the kindness, and I couldn't have gotten through all of the years of being caregiver without you guys. So it's an honor to be here, and anything for you, Lori, truly.
Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.